Locks, welcome back. Thank you for joining us on Blue Tinted Glasses or Leicester City Down Under. Locks, how are you, mate?
I'm all good, mate. I'm very happy to be here again, nice and early in the UK, of course, with you, Luke, mate. Yeah, glad to be here.
Sorry to drag you out of bed, lad. Locks, mate, I don't know what you're thinking, but I am very curious to get into this today. There's a lot to talk about, but the first thing I just want to start off with is there is a chance that do you think we don't see Wilfred Ndidi with the whole fiasco that's happening in Nigeria right now?
Yeah, you know what? It is a worry. I was reading on Twitter earlier as well, and it appears that another big worry might be for Kondo as well. Because I think he's gone obviously with Argentina. He's played there's been 2 games and he's played 0 minutes in both, and the last game was at 6 a.m. this morning, I think, UK time, or something like that. So him and Buonanotte, you know, and Ndidi and Buonanotte. So yeah, I know, I've just seen the comments. What did you call this? So yeah, it's a worry. It's a worry. I mean, imagine they're both out. Then what midfield are we going to bloody have? I don't know what we're going to have available. Hopefully, with the Ndidi situation, it might actually help. It might actually help because of the fiasco, they didn't actually play against Libya. It got called off. So maybe that one will be okay. Ndidi, maybe he will be back on time.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about this because I thought it was an interesting thing. And I was just thinking to myself today, I was listening to your preview, which is really good. And I recommend everyone else go and watch with the opposition, the lad from the St. Mary's. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. Martin, I think it was. Martin. It was a good video. Now, I don't think at any point, and because it's kind of been undroppable in Ndidi, but I've always been curious. I don't think at any point this season, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or yourself, Locks, I don't think we've seen Buonanotte and behind him have Winks and Skip as the 3 midfielders. I don't think we've seen that all at the same time. And I'm quite curious to see how that would work and what you would think.
What a Winks, Skip, and Buonanotte midfields? Do you mean? Sorry.
Yes, because that's on paper what I would like to see in what we're playing in the Steve Cooper system. I know that this doesn't. I'm quite curious to see how that would work. You know, because we're going to be having to play it out the back a fair bit. You know, with this amount of possession, we're going to have to be able to play it out right against Southampton. So I want to see what your thoughts are on that.
I hear you, mate. I know what you're saying. It would be interesting to see that. I think personally, you know, I think that the Skip and Ndidi for Kondo Buonanotte midfield worked quite well. It was really balanced against Bournemouth. And when I say balanced, I mean more that, you know, we know that Winks defensively isn't very good in the Premier League. You know, for that level, he's not a 6. He's definitely not a 6 in my eyes. And Skip, you know, although he can be a 6 or an 8, I think, you know, he's much better in the 6, or like a dynamic, if you like, between an 8 and a 6. He's much better at that role than Harry Winks. The role that Harry Winks is best at is obviously just sitting there and trying to dictate play, like he did so well with Enzo Maresca. So I think, so I think that, you know, in games where we are going to have more of the possession than we normally do, Winks would still be a very good option to have. The problem is in this game, I don't think we will have much possession. So I would still go with the Winks, with the Skip and Ndidi Buonanotte midfield if possible. But again, like we just said, if Ndidi isn't available, I still see Cooper picking Winks over like Bilal El Khanous, for example. I don't think he'll throw El Khanous, and I think he'll go with the experienced Winks instead. Hamza's an option. I know he's injured, of course, so he's not an option actually. Hamza Chowdhury he's got a problem. His shoulder, was it dislocated or something? So he's not playing. So yeah, I mean, the only option really is Winks and Winks or Bilal El Khanous if indeed he isn't available. But I think he would go with Winks. So I agree with you. I think it would be interesting to see it, but I can't see it, mate. Honestly, I can't. I think he'll, you know, if possible, he'll go for the same, unchanged completely. The whole team, I think he'll go unchanged from Bournemouth.
I think so as well, mate. I think I was going to do a starting 11 and ask you before the video started. I just thought, what's the point? Because I'm nearly convinced that we'll see the nearly same starting 11. And that leads me on to who I want to talk about next, and that's Fatawu, mate. And we haven't seen him in starting too many games. It's Ayew that's been favoured, which I can't understand. I'm gonna try and be subjective and not slander and call him an orc, and because people have been getting upset with me, and I understand because I sound negative, and I'm sick of coming on here and complaining. And we're actually talking before the stream started, and Locks and I feel like we've been blue balled for all the lads out there that know what I mean, with getting so excited with Enzo ball and thinking no one near amount of opposition are going to play a low block against us. And I can't wait to see how many people we can hurt in transition. For example, ironically, Southampton, when we played them in the last two games, so they were the only two teams that didn't sit back, and look what happened. So, quite excited, and unfortunately that didn't eventuate. And, best of luck to him. Thank you for getting us promoted. But Fatawu, going back to him, I don't know why he's not starting. I can totally appreciate, having Ayew as a finisher, seeing the game out. But like, in my opinion, do you think Fatawu, one of the problems is the Cooper system, where he was quite used to, we'd stretch him out quite wide in the pitch, and he'd have a, high eight alongside him, usually a DD. He was able to play a lot of 1-2s off. And he, when we attack in threes now instead of fives, do you think that our wingers are quite isolated, particularly Fatawu?
100%. I mean, and that whole right side is just a bit off, isn't it? We know this. When I did the stream on the other night, when me and Anil did the call-in show, we spoke with somebody who'd called in and said the same thing, and we kind of got on to discussing about how Justin is clearly he was the weak link in the start of the season, and we also said that he's undroppable at the moment because he got 2 goals and an assist in the last 2 games. But maybe Justin isn't the problem. Maybe it is just the system. Maybe it is just the system that exploits him in particular, that position, because most of the time it is 2v1, right? Down that right-hand side, which is, it doesn't matter if you're James Justin or Ricardo Pereira, unless you're Dani Alves, you're going to struggle there. And Dani Alves, 10 years ago, not Dani Alves now in prison. So, it's a weird one. I think that he's definitely, there are a few players, not just Justin, that aren't being helped by the system, and that is the problem. That's on the manager, right? That is on the manager. You look at Enzo Maresca's system last year. His system got the best out of certain players, right? He got the best out of Ricardo Pereira. He moved him into midfield, for crying out loud, technically, in possession, and Wilfred Ndidi was playing as an 8, and he did. Sorry, Endo did these things, and they actually improved players. They actually made players perform better. Whereas this year, it seems like Cooper's actually, his system, if you want to call it a system, is exploiting players' weaknesses and putting pressure on certain players. So, for me, it is on the manager, and I hear what you're saying about not slagging them off too much. I mean, I also get a few comments on my videos and lives criticizing me, saying, what did I get? I got one the other day saying, the attacks on Cooper are boring now, and I said, I'll tell you what else is boring, Cooper. So there we go. So it's one of them. Look, I think when you're in the public eye, you expect some form of criticism, some level of criticism. Sometimes the criticism goes too far, agreed, but sometimes it is fair. I mean, look at me. I put myself on YouTube. I get criticism in my comments. You just got to accept it. So if I want to call Cooper's football crap, I'm going to call Cooper's football crap. And if I get really angry sometimes, I want to call him an orc, I will call him an orc, rightly or wrongly. But there we go.
I'm with you, mate. Like, yeah, we have copped some flack, and I understand. We don't want to be negative, but look, just so people know that, like, when we are bantering and slandering him, whatever you want to call it, it's more so to get a rise out of each other. Like, I'm trying to get a laugh out of you, and you're trying to get a laugh out of me. And unfortunately, people don't like that. But like, hey, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm just going to quickly get into the comments and then touch upon what you just said. Doug, how are you, mate? Thank you for tuning in. Amar, Cooper's not going to change the team unless he's forced to. Props feels he's found the winning formula. That's a scary comment. Okay, this is what I wanted to bring up. He brought Ayew and Dakova Reed for that Premier League resilience, so he's going to play the most games. Now, that's what worries me, because I can understand that as a finisher, not as a starter, because therefore I think that is to the detriment of our team, which is why apparently Cooper was brought in to work with youth. Again, this goes back, we were talking about this the other day about being too negative of Cooper. All roads lead back to some kind of negative feedback with Cooper, and not knowing what his style and system even is. Like, Neil came out the other day for Fox's sake, check him out, and he was saying, I'm going to do a video soon breaking down Cooper's style. He's probably still scratching his head trying to figure out what it is. The video is probably never coming out. Shout out to you, Neil. I hope you heard that. Quickly, one more here. And yeah, a lot of fun. Someone about Maresca. Okay. Yeah. All right. Locks. Going on to moving on with Cooper. I'm still confused, but you're saying about that right-hand side, it is there to be exploited. And this also leads me into what I want to talk to you about. We spoke about this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you said you still want him to start. But Victor Christensen, if I had to pick one player from our starting 11 I think needs to be dropped, it's Victor Christensen. Now, it's been pointed out by Anil and a few Southampton fans, and I rate him as well, that Dibbling is going to be a scary person to come up against Christensen. Christensen struggles, other than the few odd crosses that he puts in off his left foot in a game. He can't play a ball forward on the ground. I think it's quite alarming. He can't play it out the back. I think he's had the better of him from his opposition, for a lot. I know there were big lads like Traore and Semenyo are big lads to come up against, but how do you think, do you think that we've all been screaming for ages, put JJ on the left, put Pereira on the right? It's now the oldest conversation. I'm sick of having it. But if there was one player to be dropped, I think it would be Christensen, obviously, but JJ, and have Fatawu starting instead of IU.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, I do really like Victor Christensen in terms of his energy and passion. I think he is, I don't want to call him a passion merchant, because I do think he has some ability. But, even the year we got relegated, I think he was really good. I know he was a bit shaky. He was still settling in, but I was really impressed by him. And I was actually really gutted that he left to go to Bologna on loan last season. But it was for the best, because Enzo wanted a left back that could play inverted as a centre back. And he doesn't really suit that, So, but yeah, I've got hair in my mouth. Sorry, mate.
You're making me feel like I got hair in my mouth.
Yeah, sorry, mate. But I like him still. But yeah, you're right. Justin, like I said, is undroppable at the moment. So maybe you could move him to the left, because apparently he does prefer playing at left back, and put Ricardo in at right back. But if I'm completely honest with you, mate, I can't see it happening. I don't think Ricardo will play still. I think he'll still be out of the team. Cooper's clearly got a problem with him. Maybe Ricardo's an Enzo fanboy. It did seem that way. And if that's the case, maybe that's why Cooper doesn't like him. So I do see it being Justin on the right and Christensen on the left for the foreseeable future, unless there's some kind of injury to one of them. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think, yes, Christensen's got like the second most crosses into the box. I think that's the statistic at the moment in the whole of the Premier League, or outside the top 6 maybe. But the thing I hate the most about the left side is him and Mavididi. They don't work well together in my eyes. And we know that Mavididi and James Justin can, because we saw it, at parts last season. So, whoa, Costa, chill, man.
Yeah.
But not this early anyway. Maybe later. But no, I'm joking. But yeah, so it's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. Be interesting to see what happens in the future with JJ, Christensen, all of that stuff on the left.
Yeah, and it all comes down to, is it a system issue? Like Wink's not working. We talk about Cooper. Like, is it like Wink's not working, Fatawu not being started? There's a lot of problems, and I agree with everything you said. I liked him a lot in the relegation season, Christensen, and I was quite, enthusiastic to see how he would do. I even said, I think I've got receipts. I'd love to see how he would go under Enzo if he comes back from Bologna, but is there getting in each other's way a system issue? Or is it just those two don't work? And what's interesting is saying, oh, it is. I agree. And what's funny is, like, we look at the last game we just had against Bournemouth, right, where we looked good for the first time in that first half only, yet to see a 4-minute performance. But that first half, we got a lot further up the pitch. We looked like we're playing in a back 3. a lot of the time in possession, which was interesting. So we did see Christensen playing a back three. And we have in sporadic spurts of games, but not, a full 90-minute performance. Obviously, we're not going to have the ball the whole time, but you know what I mean. But do you think, like, let's try and be subjective about, like, I'm going to try not to slag him off again, but honestly, like, seriously, why do you think Ricardo Pereira is not playing? He's not just playing, he's been frozen out. Honestly, try and think of it like from a logical reason, like, which is difficult. Not 1 minute.
The logical reason is, Cooper tactically sees Justin as the better fit in the role. Maybe he's more athletic, which he is, James Justin, maybe more athletic. Maybe that's why, 2-on-1, you need somebody who's a bit more, I say agile, but I reckon Ricardo's more agile. But stamina-wise, of course, maybe James Justin is better. If that's from a logical standpoint, maybe it's just something Cooper sees tactically that he thinks that JJ's a better fit. However, that doesn't make any sense really when you think about it, actually, because you'd think at least Ricardo would be given a chance to, during Justin's poor run of form at the start of the season, maybe to see if he did any better. But Ricardo's only featured in cup games. So, but what I think it is I think Ricardo is the victim of Steve Cooper's, how can I word this without sounding really, really nasty? I just think he's got agendas. I just think he holds agendas. We heard about it at Forest. He exiled certain players from the squad, the bomb squad, I think they called it. So we'll call it that as well. And I think Ricardo Pereira is one of them. I think there are a few players in the squad that have probably voiced their concerns about the style of football, or voiced their concerns about how they think we should be playing, which is probably more similar to last year. And Steve Cooper's probably got a problem with that, because if you look at the names that have been hard done to this season in the past and or now, you look at Mavididi, he was hard done to at the start of the season. You look at Ricardo Pereira, you look at Harry Winks now, you look at Yannick Vestergaard. I mean, there's 4 players who are really, really important to Enzo Maresca's system. And I mean, you remember the Mavididi came out. Mavididi and Ricardo in particular, was the only person that came out and actually said, "Thanks, boss, for everything." He's the only one that came out in support of Enzo when he left and put a photo up on Instagram and all of that. So I think that, honestly, mate, I'm not, I'm not normally a massive conspiracy theorist, but I think Cooper has got a problem that Enzo and Ricardo were. I don't know whether it was so close or Ricardo really enjoyed that style of football and it suited him. So I think that's the problem. I think that is what it is. I think he's been put in the bomb squad because of his affiliation to Enzo and maybe his doubts over this way of playing. And Cooper's probably thought, well, if you don't like it, then you're not playing, basically. And that's okay to do that. If you're a top manager with a big ego, I suppose you can get away with it. I mean, Enzo, right? Enzo does it. Enzo Maresca has said at Chelsea already, if they don't agree with me, they're not playing. And that's fine. Pep Guardiola might do it. Jose Mourinho's done it in the past. But we ain't talking about Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, or even Enzo. We're talking about Steve Cooper. Pooper Cooper, right? And Super Duper Cooper. And I don't think he should have that ego or that arrogance to do that, because he's never going to win. The fans will win. If we start losing more games and Ricardo Pereira isn't playing, the fans will turn and the fans will win, because he will be sacked.
As Anil said, he's basically sacking himself. He's bought himself a little bit of respite with this game of Bournemouth. And I understand what you're saying completely. Like, if, let's say, hypothetically, the conspiracy theories, he's had some kind of falling out. It's now to the detriment of the club, in my opinion, because he's brought in Dakova Reed, and he's brought in for Premier League experience. And they're fringe players, or players that, clubs were happy to let go, with all due respect. Ricardo Pereira is a player that I'm sure a lot of clubs would be very happy to snatch up, and he'd be a starter, not a finisher, in my opinion, unless it was at a top end club, which I think people would like people would take him as a finisher. And I think in the big 6, you could trust him and rely on him to see out, the last 20 minutes. He could play that Calafiore role. He could play that, right back position if, Walker had to come off. People might turn their nose up at that, but if it weren't for the injury, in my opinion, he would have already left Leicester. He was loyally stayed, and now look what it's got him. Think of Rogers of Sionsu and freezing him out playing Amati. That was to the detriment of our club. And you say about Maresco freezing players out with identity and a style, and I agree. But they have the talent and the absolute depth to be able to do that with that army of players they have. We don't. So it's stupid, in my opinion, to be. Look, if you don't want him, and there's a reason in your head that we can't figure out why to not playing him, fine, so be it. But at least play him or bring him off the bench. Just freezing him out entirely and only playing him cup games, as this comment said earlier, is just disrespectful, in my opinion. And he's
it is disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. By the way, you're right. You're bang on. It's disrespectful because he's a legend. I think he is a legend. I know that things go around. The word legend is put around so often and too much. But I think Ricardo Pereira is actually a legend of this era, because if you look at the previous era, you'd say Vardy, you'd say Schmeichel, you'd say Morgan, and maybe Albrighton, right? They're the legends. They're the true legends. I know you could say Mahrez, but for me, he abandoned us. He jumped ship, so I'm not including Mahrez in that legend status. However, I think Ricardo Pereira is a legend. He's been here since 2018. We stuck by him when he had his ACL. We stuck by him, and we tried to get him back in the team when he was back. And then when we got relegated again, he could have left even with his injury. Someone would have taken him. Porto might have taken him back. Someone would have taken him back, but he stayed for a year and helped us get promoted again. And then you have, I'm sorry to say this, you have this orc come into this football club and just say, yeah, I watched every game last season, so I know all about this squad, and then drop him and then refuse to play him again, right? Until 2 cup games against League 2 teams. That is disrespect. That is disrespect. Big time. So I really, 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 I think that is the biggest thing at the moment that is really pissing me off, and then all of us probably. It's the biggest thing that is pissing us off so much with Steve Cooper. How can you just get one of our best technical players and just throw him in the bin, in the bomb squad, and say, yeah, you can play against the League 2 sides, mate. You ain't getting any Premier League. He's a better footballer. He's a better footballer than James Justin. I don't care if James Justin can get up the pitch quicker, or if he's got more stamina, or I don't care. I don't care. Ricardo Pereira is a massive miss to any. Imagine Ricardo Pereira got injured now, last season for like 3 months. We would miss him so much, right? We would miss him so much, and we'd be really upset about that. And now 6 months later, it's okay because Cooper's there and he prefers Justin. Get lost, mate. He's an orc. He's an orc. Get lost.
He's an orc. That's it. We're back on the hate wagon. You mentioned earlier all the most pivotal players for us last season, obviously different system, and a lot of them are frozen out. Wink's not working to the system. Now, Yannick Vestergaard, you mentioned earlier. Now, this is an interesting one. So he just played in the back 3, how we played last season. He was the builder. He played out from the back. The last time we saw him play, his passes were a bit skew. Is that positioning? Is it, again, the Cooper system? It's subjective and up to opinion. Okoli's been getting better and better week in, week out. Although I think Okoli makes up for obviously what Yannick lacks and pace. He does sometimes have some very decent line breaking passes, Okoli. But I think that hinges upon how much time he has on the ball. It's quite fast. If we're playing some of a high press, sometimes he can turn the ball over. Christensen turns the ball over a lot as well. Now, FaZe is undroppable at the moment. He's been playing really well. But, I'm quite curious. I would love to see, just for curiosity and how Southampton play, I would love to see Okoli and Yannick Vestergaard be our 2 centre-backs in this game. A lot of people will say it's crazy. What's wrong with you? FaZe has been playing really well. I agree. I'm just curious to see how it would work, but I don't think we'll see that, unfortunately. Just going to get into some comments here. We've got a lot coming in. What do you think about that, by the way, while I pull up some of these comments?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, again, I hear you. I think it would be interesting to see that, that back line for sure. Again, I just think that, with all that we've said about Steve Cooper and what we think about him and what we think about his tactical style and all of this, his decisions with team selections, we have our opinions about all of that. But I would say it is probably the wrong decision to make any changes. I think if he is going to be, if he is ever going to be stubborn and not change things, it is probably this one. I think it's fair for him to do that because, it's an old cliche. Never change a winning side. It's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. I think it would be wrong to change it now, and it would probably piss off a few of the players as well. So I think he sticks with the same team as long as everyone's available. Of course, like we said at the start, Facundo might not be available. And Ndidi might not be available. We don't know for sure. We'll find out in his press conference, I'm sure. But yeah, as it is at the minute, if everyone is fit, I think we stick with the same team that we had for Bournemouth, if I'm honest, mate.
I'm with you. The only reason I mention it is, first of all, I just want to say I don't agree with IE starting. I still think Fatawu. I know it's a different game, different managers, but hat-trick last game, absolute nightmare. You want to play in the transition. You want to hit him on a counter. You want to have pace. That's your man to do it. IE can hold the ball up. He's good at winning the ball back sometimes, but a lot of, our transition breaks down and he holds the ball up too long and he draws a foul. And then, the ref has the whistle. Southampton have time to get back into shape and get ready to defend with us in the ball. So I would still prefer to have the tower, but I agree with what you're saying. The reason why I mentioned Yannick Vestergaard is because if they're going to be playing a lot of possession-based football, a lot of it is the two centre-backs passing back to each other. I would still love to see how we go 2 players of decent line-breaking passes and Okoli being the physical one that tracks back if need be. But like you said, I don't think that will happen. Now, this is a preview. I'm going to try and get into some of these comments, but what I want to mention to you first is, let's bring up this comment here from Dawn. We need to go all guns blazing on Saturday, not dropping off. We need the 3 points. Sean's come and said, get the knives out if he loses to Southampton. There's a lot of pressure. There would have been a lot more on Krupa if we had have lost to Bournemouth, but Russell Martin was probably Russell Martin's probably going to get the sack, to be honest with you, if he loses this game. Do I think he's going to change up his playing style? No. If plan A doesn't work, try plan B again. The pressure's on Southampton big time. But what are your thoughts, mate? Like, would you take a draw? Do you think it absolutely has to be a win? It's a 6-pointer for both of our clubs. But they would be saying the same thing that we're saying about them. We need to win this game.
Of course, yeah, they will be saying the same thing, mate. I would not take a draw. I would not take a draw. I think we have to be beating them. And I said, I'll say the same for Ipswich. I'll say the same for Forest, and I'll say the same for not Man United. Ipswich and Forest. So the thing is, mate, I think on paper it's the easiest game of the season, just because on paper they are the shittest team in the league. However, football, unfortunately, as we all know, isn't that simple. I think that they will be under more pressure than us, just because they haven't won a game yet, and now we have. It does beg the question, though, and I did say this to the Southampton fan Martin yesterday when I was speaking to him, that are they going to be a little bit more hungry than us now? They might be more hungry than us, and I know we're both probably going to be hungry for it, but how football is, even the 1-2% makes a difference. So if they want it 2% more than us, there is a chance that they win because of that. So it depends on how the players approach the game, of course, how they take on the first half, especially how they start the game. Again, I do worry a little bit, just because I think, it's weird to say, but they are the underdogs in this game. I think everyone thinks we're the better team. And that does, honestly, that's the thing that worries me the most. Obviously, their style of football is an interesting one. It's something that people will be debating all season long. Can they do it in this league? Martin, who I spoke to yesterday, doesn't think that they can do it. So they're players. So it's a very similar situation, it seems, to Company at Burnley last season. He's unwilling to compromise his principles, and that probably would have been the same for Enzo Maresca this season as well. However, a lot of people think that we actually had the players. We have the players to play that way. So, yeah, it's hard to say, mate. It really is hard to say. But I'm demanding a win. You have to be beating the teams in and around you. Everyone talks about this mini league. Who is Simply Stu talking about? We'll take him off your hands on loan in January. Who would he even be talking? Who would he be talking about? I don't know who he'd be.
You're still going to be in the championship next season, lad.
If he's talking about Ricardo, no chance. Jesus Christ.
No.
But yeah, so and demanding a win. If we lose, I don't think they'll sack him yet. It obviously depends on the two other games after that. But I mean, I would sack him if we didn't win against Southampton. But I don't think the board would. Yeah, simply Stu reckons they're getting Ricardo on loan. Will fuck, not a chance.
You're dreaming, lad. You're dreaming.
Yeah.
Mate, we'll wrap it up shortly. Like I think this game's tailor made. Like of how much of a suicidal high line Russell Martin plays with Southampton. It's totally made for us to hit him on the break, particularly Vardy off the shoulder runs. Decent ball over the top. Pace is not there, but his brain is still there. I think this is tailor made for Vardy. Locks, anything else you want to say before I wrap this up and get a score prediction out of you?
Yeah, mate. I just want us to go at it, really. Like somebody said earlier, I think it was Dawn. You know, we have to start the game strongly. I think we did that against Bournemouth. We were good in the first half against Bournemouth. Palace, again, we were very good in the first half. So there have been games this season where we've been good in the first half, and equally, there's been many games this season where in the second half we've just turned out a crap performance, like really stonking performance. So we need to, in the second half, make sure that we keep up the levels of the first. If we do start the first half well, we need to have a 90-minute performance for the first time this year, because it's not happened this season. We've not had a 90-minute performance. Even a 70-minute performance would do me nicely. So I can't see it, but start strong, try and get an early goal or two. Try and see out the win without, inviting all the pressure in the world on top of you, and causing a nervy end to the end of the game. That's all I want to see. I just want us to be positive against the weaker teams. I want us to be positive against Southampton, Ipswich, whatever. But in this case, Southampton, and just get the 3 points, because that's all that matters. I don't care. Get the 3 points, and we'll be happy. We'll get off your back. I'll tell you now, if we get 3 points, we will pledge not to call you an orc for at least 2 weeks. There we go, Luke. We'll be fair. We'll do that. Get us the 3 points. We won't call you an orc.
Get us the 3 points. I'll stop saying it. I would rather us say do well than have to come on here and slag him off every 2 minutes. But it's just like you said, all roads lead back to Cooper. He's frustrating. I don't understand his style. I don't understand why he freezes the likes of Ricardo out. But hey, I'm not a manager. I'm just an Aussie talking on YouTube. What the fuck do I know? Guys, thank you all heaps for tuning in. Everyone, thank you for tuning in from Blue Tinted Glasses. If you like hearing me talk shit, please come over to my channel and subscribe. If not, you can always catch me here. We're basically furniture on each other's channels now. Locks, what's the score prediction?
I'm going to have to stick with the one I gave yesterday. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Leicester win. This is the first win that I've predicted this season. I predicted a loss in the first game against Spurs and Fulham. Then Villa, I predicted a loss as well. I think in the Palace game, I predicted a draw. In the Everton game, I predicted a draw as well, I think. The Bournemouth game, I predicted a draw as well. So this game is the first one that I've predicted that is a win. I think we'll win 2-1, and I'd be happy with that. Like I said, as long as we don't do anything stupid, as long as we just, play smart or whatever, go at them, try and get an early goal or two and see it out, then I'll be happy. So, 2-1 Leicester City win.
Yep, I'm with you. I don't want to defend Leeds anymore. I want to, go in front and then go for the jugular. You feel more confident being a goal down than you do a goal in front under Cooper, unfortunately. I'm going to go at Desmond, unfortunately. I'm going to go 2-2. I feel like we're going to go 1-0 up. They're going to equalize, going up again. They're going to equalize last minute, and I'm going to come on a post-match reaction of a rant built in, ready to go. But let's hope it don't come to that. Probably manager the line for Martin, Cooper. We know Top's a bit of a coward, so maybe he's bought respite, as I said, of the Bournemouth win. But let's wait and see what happens. Locks. Cut. Yeah. Oh. All right. I'll see you for the match day live. Yeah. Locks.
Yes, match day live starting at 2:45 on Saturday. So it'll be obviously Luke and Anil until 3, and then at half time, and then obviously you guys will be doing your instant match reaction on both of your channels. Just another shout out as well, because I know we're live on my channel as well. Remember, people, Fox's Den 7 o'clock tonight. 7 p.m. tonight. Make sure you're there because it will be a good one.
Be a good one. Everyone, thank you for all the comments, guys. It's hard to bring them all up, but if for everyone I didn't answer, I'm sorry. I appreciate all your comments, and yeah, thank you everyone that came over from Lox's channel. I'll catch you guys later. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.